Well, that's funny looking. Look at that. Picotee? You can just see it floating here in front of the table. Like, all the evidence is on the table, but that one thing is like, hey. Alright, so we have this new article to check out. Because we finally unlocked Picotee, this son of a bitch. And now it says there's only one clue. Oh, and there's two here. It said 8 a second ago. Where'd they all go? Did I already lock in all the stuff I'm actually going to learn from this? This is an interview with Sisely Sanchez, an author. She was hired to write a book about Guy Hudson. You claim to have been paid a significant amount to write a significant amount. I can't believe I fucked the sentence up again. You claim to have been paid a significant amount to write a book about one of the Roottrees, Guy Hudson. He was president for a short time at the end of the 1970s, right? Yes, I met him on New Year's Eve, actually. The last night of 1978. Guy liked to throw big parties. I was just coming off of Changed Man and looking for my next project. When his wife learned who I was, she invited me to the party, and they cornered me to talk about a book. That was the first time anyone recognized me for my work. I had finally made it. The book they asked me to write sounded great, but then none of the stuff that made him interesting was allowed to stay. Chop, chop, snip, snip. Anything with even the slightest threat to Guy's image ended up gonzo. New Year's Eve. Is that the writer then? In the background here? No. This is Christmas, not New Year's Eve. And this really seems to be these people. Not locked in yet, though. Oops. You? What was the stuff that made him interesting? At his core, Guy was not complicated. In fact, I think I can boil him down to two traits. First, he wanted to be seen as the second coming of the great Elias Roottrie. And second, he'd never be satisfied living the life needed to be seen that way. He had his fortune and good looks, but he really liked to exploit that to pick up women. He couldn't let anyone else know, so it cost him a lot to cover it up. That was the only interesting aspect of Guy. He was James Bond trying to convince people he was Mr. Rogers, I guess. Mr. Rogers? Really? Maybe that's not the best metaphor, but Elias Roottree was boring as all hell and all about family. Guy did everything he could to be seen that way. After I submitted my first draft, he sent me this garbage book, The Roottree Legacy, with Elias on the cover. The last time he and I met, he had even switched out his orange suits for some green ones Elias wore. And remember Fancy Flowers? Guy knew that part of Elias's legacy was the 5-piece flavors. So that's what... Oh, Fancy Flavors. Did I ever actually look up Fancy Flavors specifically? Damn it. I gotta stop clicking on that. I keep wanting to use the shortcut highlight, and then I keep not clicking on it correctly. Have I read this already? Guy Hudson, who was only president of Roottree for a few years in the late 70s and 80s, had mostly faded into obscurity except for the Fancy Flavors debacle. During Rootreemania, he suddenly rose to prominence again after 5Ps announced on the cover of a magazine holding a... After 5Ps appeared on the cover of a magazine holding a photo of Guy and his mother. Oh my god, I keep auto-completing the wrong fucking words in my sentences. Update Guy Hudson. Update Guy Hudson. Okay. I never looked up Guy Hudson? Oh my god. A few people that existed adjacent to the company in the 70s have come forward with stories about debauchery and swinger parties. Guy liked to throw large holiday parties whenever he had an excuse, and they often got very out of hand. This fact led some people to speculate that the night he died in a car crash he was drunk or impaired in some way, but the Butler County Police have released multiple statements and ample evidence that proves decisively that it was not foul play and that no party had taken place. Roottree's lawyers have been quick to threaten litigation to anyone who has tried to disparage Guy or the company in public. So that's Fancy Flavors. Maybe it comes up in Business Watch? No? No? Okay, so Fancy Flavors just doesn't really have an article. Remember Fancy Flavors? Guy knew that part of Elias's legacy was the 5-piece flavors, so that's what Guy tried to do. Caviar was a disaster here, but it's actually somewhat popular in Brazil for whatever reason. In Christmas 1979, he went to Brazil to open the Roottree Brazil factory. Guy was always hopping around the world trying to recreate that success. Christmas. And that's them. So my assumption seems to be correct about who these people were and their relevance. It's funny that I can just jump the gun based on just the economy of characters. Just the simple fact that assets exist and characters come up tends to mean that they're relevant, because it's just more expensive and also more exhausting to include a bunch of story elements that aren't relevant. So I was kind of ahead of them on that one. That's the Roottree Brazil. So how come the book never came out? It's complicated. I had an out in my contract. Surprisingly, Guy signed the contract my lawyers wrote without running it by anyone in his legal department. I could pull my name off the book at any time. But Guy still got the content. After I left, it probably got a lot harder to convince any real publisher to give it their time. So we got to keep the book, but maybe no one wanted to publish it without anyone credible attached to it. He was the president, right? Do you know why he never released it himself? If I had to guess, my family very wisely put a stop to it. Mid-1981, months after I had already moved on, he called me back and showed me a final draft. Do you know how expensive it is to publish one copy of a book? It had my name on it, in big shiny embossed letters. Like all problems in his life, throwing money at me was his attempt to win me back. But it had half the page count, and the narrative was torn to bits. No thanks. The dinner was good. Imported steak that likely cost as much as a month of my mortgage. And we all got pretty drunk. He sent his mistress, Susie something, into the bathroom to proposition me. Poor girl. I remember her from her trip overseas. She was too good for him. Anyways, he died soon after, and that was the last it ever came up. God, what tab are we in now? This is Sisely. A proposition by Susie something, which might be the last affair since he died shortly thereafter. This might be our hint on someone to look into, because it seems like he probably didn't sleep with Sisely. What can you tell us about the family? Any insight into the scandals from the recent book by Sam Manson? I actually haven't read it. I just skimmed the sections on Guy to see why people were suddenly calling me up to ask about the man. I'd say she did well for what she had to work with. She only had rumors, whereas I spent time tailing him. Sometimes he knew, sometimes he didn't. He invited me to join them when dealing with Roottree Brazil, but I actually had people on him when he went to Africa, France, and China too. When he met with someone, I'd figure out who they were and how they were involved. Doubly so if the meeting happened when he didn't want me to be around. Let's see. So he was having, so they were tailing him. Doubly so if the meeting happened when he didn't want me to be around. Despite his best efforts, I got the whole truth, including things even his family never knew. For example, the daughter of his business partner in Australia, I think her name was Robin. He and she definitely spent a few nights together that he didn't want his family to know about. But I did. Australia? Madsen got things wrong? Sam mentions Guy's affairs and treats them like most people would logically think to treat them, like the infidelity was a problem for Patricia. When his wife first approached me, though, it wasn't to talk, if you get my meaning. On paper and in public, it was a marriage like any other, but in reality, it was more of a mutually beneficial arrangement. They both got what they wanted out of it. The same thing. What was that? I'm assuming I only have to spell it out so you can get it in writing for your readers. Women. Patricia enjoyed the company of women. Hello. And the swinger scene made that more accessible. I told her I wasn't interested in her and Guy. I found out later that if I had said yes, her next question would have been whether or not her husband actually had to be there too. Guy, on the other hand, was seen in a traditional marriage, and at the same time could bed any women that found him charming. I can assure you that was exactly the type of marriage he was interested in. So Patricia propositions people, and then the follow-up question is whether or not she can spend time with you alone, if you're a woman, instead of with Guy. Because she actually wants the same thing, and would rather exclude Guy in the process. So, they were both just on the prowl, and keeping up the appearances of a marriage. And that is the thing that had to be excluded, because that exposes this entire mess. And yeah, as far as I can tell, that does mean that this probably is Sisely. It also means that she's probably not on this sheet. I don't remember Sisely being confirmed at any point to have a husband. So she can't be up here anyway. And everyone else is confirmed so far. At least somebody in the family is, so we're on the right track with all that stuff. We still need to find out Sonia's maiden name. We also need to figure out just who this is at all. Okay. But I got a lead. Susie. Susie, who should be one of the last people that ever worked with him. Does that line up with Anonymom? Lisa Lewis or Valerie Ewing, so no. But they both left before then. Whereas this was like the end, we're at the end right before he died, seemingly. Susan Ford. And then they were all fired. Susan Ford no longer employed at Roottree. Okay. I guess secretary for now. So Susan Ford seems to be confirmed by her as being his last affair. That's not a great start. I could use some more about Susan Ford, please. Oh my god, how am I going to find more about Susan Ford of all things? Maybe I'll try to wrap up this one first. Hudson Suarez. Can I just fucking not spell? Hudson Suarez. Hudson Sor. Oh, I keep putting Z's and shit in. I was like, what am I doing wrong here? So this is a made-up country. We've been over that. Tella Reid. Reed, Miami Mercury. No, probably not. Okay, they said that he spent more time with Martin's family than we thought. What am I supposed to do with that? Robin Martin. Oh, Robin Martin can't have children though, right? Robin's eggs. So that's a dead end. That's actually a legit red herring there. Is that if you find that document first, you'll have this mention of how he slept with Robin, and that at first glance be like, oh well, then she's totally on the list, right? But she can't have children. You probably got her tubes tied. I don't know if that's the... I have no idea if that's an acceptable way to describe that. That's just literally how I heard my own mom describe it for ages. If the specific parties matter? There's nothing tied to Susan Ford. She calls her Susie. Nope. Susie Ford is not relevant either. Okay. But don't we already... I thought we had something on her. Can't believe how much shit has come up. I'm scared. Is this more than last time? Entire playthrough? Like, I feel like I've read so much shit this time. Maybe it just feels like a lot because I can't distinguish between the two playthroughs mentally anyway. And I've just been playing for a while now. Antonelli's, yeah, that was the beginning. Antonelli's. School for the Death. Miss Ford. Okay, so I'm not crazy. I'm like, this came up before, didn't it? Yeah. I was pretty sure that Susan Ford was one of the 5 from pretty early on because we found her listed tied to this School for the Deaf, and then it just like never came up again. But like they had a suspicious amount of money that went into it. What is New Edison? The Old Rugged Cross. Edison versus Edsel. It's located about an hour from where the Roottree offices used to be in Butler County, but it serves much of the part of Pennsylvania nearby Ohio. Because it used to be called Grandorf Dove, then became Deaf. Miss Ford is fluent in 5 languages, including ASL, American Sign Language. She's been working in school for 15 years. She's not deaf, but rather learns sign language to communicate with the deaf. Securing funding for the Hudson Wing. I didn't see that in the nearby articles. Okay. I think I never looked into this then. The Hudson Wing was an expansion to Grandorf Dove, now Grandorf School for the Deaf. First built in 1982, it's a separate, much smaller building, half a block from the main campus, and operates as a smaller, independent school that offers free ASL courses for the family members, friends, and caretakers for deaf children. According to their history site, they got their name after the president of the Roottree Company generously donated $250,000 to the construction of the building. There's also a very vague history section that you can somewhat fill in with details from the other information you've seen about the school. It mentions that the donation came at the insistence of an employee of the Roottree at the time. It mentions that she learned ASL from the main school before Hudson Wing even existed, to surprise her future husband, who was deaf. After realizing how useful a service like this could be to non-deaf people that wish to better serve those with hearing issues, she convinced Roottree management to invest in the school. The Hudson Wing opened and she became the first teacher at the new campus. At first it only operated on weekends, but since then it has added afternoon classes on some weekdays. So it seems to be Susan Ford. Susan Ford apparently learned sign language to surprise her husband, which she split from, so that's unfortunate. The question is, what is her name? Let's see. Her future husband. She's called Susan Ford here. Susan Ford moved to office staff. Susan Ford hired under a special category that only existed for 1 year. Interpreter. Who is deaf? Okay, that's interesting. So I think she has history before now. This says Susan Ford is hired as an interpreter, and then we just read that she learned ASL to surprise her future husband who was deaf. So if she learned ASL to surprise her husband, that means that she learned ASL before she got married, and then did it to get married, essentially. And we know she got married at some point. So I think this guy's name is Ford. And your name is not originally Ford. I think she married someone named Ford. She has a different original name, because the marriage seemingly had to happen before she was even hired by Hudson Guy, I think. Then why did this happen? So why did Guy Hudson need a sign language interpreter? Is somebody in the family deaf? Or in the company deaf? Because her name never changes the whole time. She's still Susan Ford at the end, so I think that means that she became Susan Ford. Is there anything else I want to get from here? The Hudson Wing is born in 1982, which is, I think, the same year he dies. This does identify that the insistence of the donation came from the very same person that learned ASL. I might as well highlight that part too, because it does clarify that it specifically is Susan. I'm in the wrong tab though. There we go. I was in a completely different tab, unrelated to this particular subject. Yeah, Susan Ford lives in 82. Leaving at 82, that's also the end of this streak, so that makes sense that that's Susan. You might be Susan, because you're the only face remaining? Which is a somewhat silly way of narrowing this down, perhaps. What do you know about this goddamn school? Have I looked this up in a periodical? Because it looks like it's in Butler County. Randolph Dove was a school for the deaf near Butler and was regularly listed in articles with other local schools. The Butler County Times archives includes what seems to be an endless list of snow cancellations, extracurricular activities, and weekend events that began over 70 years ago and stretched until the last mentioned in 1990. Oh, did they close? Amongst the avalanche of useless information, you almost miraculously discover one useful article. Grandorf Dove was at the center of a crime article in 1982. Crime? Isn't the same year where the Hudson thing was added to? It seemed that someone defaced the school and vehicles outside the brand new Hudson Wing of the school. There are multiple broken windows and one of the teacher's cars was painted with profanities and accusations of infidelity. Oh. By who? Her husband? A week later, a follow-up article provides more details. There was one arrest, Thomas Hughes, who was coincidentally a former student of the school. Apparently the destruction came weeks after he married the school's newest teacher, Mrs. Hughes. She was not a teacher when he went. He graduated a few years earlier. According to the reporter's investigation into the police reports, trials, and restraining orders, Mr. Hughes was convinced that he was not the father of Mrs. Hughes' current pregnancy. Okay. Hughes. So I was wrong. Apparently they got married way fucking later. So when you say future husband, you were planning really long into the future, apparently. Like after your entire job was over, years later. Also, she's a professor for sign language. So Susan Ford, professor, and someone Hughes. Wait, no, they say his name. Just a second. Thomas Hughes. Okay. That should mean that both of the children are named Hughes? Maybe. There's one arrest. Current pregnancy. He was released on bail, and the school has agreed not to press criminal charges after an agreement that was made to pay for the damages and for the couple to begin the divorce proceedings. It seems Thomas Hughes, Mrs. Hughes, and the Hudson Wing have all avoided further appearances in Butler County Times. Damn. Alright. Have I looked up Susan Ford here? No. Okay, let's go back to this then. Susan Hughes. No! Is that spelled right? H-U-G-H-E-S. Susan Hughes. So no luck with that. So I looked up in Butler County Time Grandorf Dove, but there's frequently separately one for the other thing, so School for the Deaf. Is that enough? No. I need to find the entire goddamn name. Alright. Is that it? Ooh. Sandstone High School. This is so much that I just straight up don't remember what a bunch of these even are about. And we'll see if I ever need to. Okay. Oh, there we go. Twins. Well, that's immediately a good sign. Grandorf School for the Deaf has made a few odd appearances here and there in the Butler County Times since 1990. It's not too many that you can't look at them all. So after scrolling through a few pages, you manage to find something incredibly useful in an article that isn't even focused on the school itself. Local students provide key evidence in scientific study. The article, from March of this year, 1999, mentions that the Ford sisters, who attend public school in Butler County, are one of only a handful of identical twins in the world who suffer from two different genetic issues. One of them has asthma, while the other has a deadly allergy to peanuts. Is that a genetic issue? You probably have a genetic disposition to peanut allergy, but from what I've heard, we've been actually successfully reducing peanut allergies by exposing people to peanuts earlier in life, which apparently is part of the issue. Is that if you don't expose people to peanuts when they're growing up, then they're more likely to develop an allergy to it. But if you expose to them early, then they don't, potentially. But I guess it could still be genetic in predisposition to having it. Also, I don't know if that's right. That's what I've been told. But third-hand information from a random YouTuber in a Let's Play is a terrible way to base your information, so I unlearn anything I say. Their mother, Miss Susie Ford, who is principal at the nearby Grandorf School for the Deaf, was originally contacted by researchers looking to identify if there were any sets of twins where one was born deaf and the other one was not. While she didn't have any twins attending her school, she asked her if her daughters Melissa and Heather... Let's get that done. We'll find out later if they're in the wrong order. Alright, so it seems like because of the divorce, she went back to Susan Ford. And so they're actually Melissa Ford and Heather Ford. I'm gonna say they're probably both young enough to be students for now. Guess we'll see if there's anything wrong with that. Let's see. You can't have twins from two different men, right? I'm pretty sure that's not a thing. So I was like, what if this is all a big fake out, and the fact that they have different genetic issues is because they actually have two different fathers. That'd be one thing if they were just siblings, but the fact that they're daughters, they're twins, I'm like, that's not a thing, I'm pretty sure. So it seems to genuinely be whatever rare thing they're thinking a rare occurrence like they suspect. But it doesn't say they're identical twins, right? No, it says identical twins. Oh god! How do I tell them apart? Well, they're identical twins. That's going to be a bit of an issue. Also, which one's older? Because they're always like, one of them slightly older. Let's see. She says they couldn't be more different. My youngest, we call her that because even though it's only been about 15 minutes, is shy, but essentially, okay. There's our hint. like I was gonna say, one of them's the younger one and one's the older one, so they're born 15 minutes apart. Is shy but essentially hasn't stopped running from the moment she learned to scamper. Asthma has kept her sister off the soccer field, but she's the definition of extrovert and is even performing the local production of Is There Life After School later this year. Let's just have this whole thing. Okay, so one of them's so the younger one plays soccer and the older one is an actor. Yep, those are a little hard to tell apart. Oh. Okay. Are they... They're holding a fucking inhaler and EpiPen. This photo accompanied by an article about scientific study in Butler County Times. The Ford twins were used as part of a nationwide study of how allergies and other diseases affect twins differently. The twin on the left is holding an inhaler and the twin on the right is holding an EpiPen. Watch them be like, haha, as a funny prank we swapped places in that photo, and it fucks me up now. Okay, so the youngest one can run. So EpiPen one is younger. We don't know which one's which though. Just to be rude, they're reversed from their picture order, which is very funny. Wait, no. Youngest one can run. Shit. Older one has an inhaler. The oldest goes left. But we don't know Melissa and Heather. Okay, any names? Can I look up, is there life after high school? It seems like a high school in Butler County performed Is There Life After High School near the end of April 1999. There's a list of mentioned names, including Heather Ford. Heather Ford is the actor. Alright, so both their names are wrong. There we go. Heather Ford's the actor with asthma. Melissa Ford is the soccer player with a peanut allergy. And it says high school in April 1989, which means that they are high school students as of this year. As of 4 months ago. They technically could have graduated high school this June. And I think in August they're technically we still wouldn't be college students until like September, I think. I haven't dealt with that schedule for a while. I think these two are locked in. I don't know if that's what Susan's face looks like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I'm right about Christine Farrow. So I need to learn Sonia's first name. Last name, because not Edson. Because that's their married name. I also don't know if that's Susan Ford. She kind of looks like them, if that's her daughters. That could be enough to go on. I just gotta go back for Flavio, I think. Let's see. Flavio Soares. Fan fiction. Oops. Stop clicking on the goddamn highlight button. We'll go back to the page. What page was I putting them in? Not deaf. Sisely. Global? Sal Bernard, yeah. Because I put too many people in global. Fanfiction has apparently been around for a while offline, but has recently begun to gain popularity on the internet as well. After browsing a site dedicated to fan fiction, your first instinct is that while some is based in truth, it likely won't be a reliable or dependable resource for hard facts. For example, in one of the fan fiction, you discover that Flavio, Ashley York is captured by pirates, and Flavio must team up with a popular team of reptile ninjas to rescue her. As far as you can tell, that didn't actually happen. What? Alright, Ashley York is a British supermodel who does ads for perfume, clothing, and jewelry. She has been subject to some controversy in the past few months, having been protested by PETA for wearing fur on the cover of some magazines. I don't think being protested by PETA counts as controversy, because no one fucking likes PETA because they kill dogs. She's dated a young Brazilian news anchor named Flavio Soares, who has been brought them both somewhat into the limelight. There's no brand names or company names.
PETA.
People for the ethical treatment of animals. Uh-huh. False advertising. The dedicated fanfiction tab is very funny, though. Huh. His mother's name, Sonia. All the details are creepy but don't matter. I don't think golden haired is really a thing either. I guess not gonna bring anything up. I don't think that Flavio Soares could be in Starlit or Teen Blast or something for being hot or whatever, but oh. Ashley York, a British model, appeared on the cover of Teen Blast wearing a fur shawl 3 months ago. That's the fucking magazine. Okay. This appearance doesn't lead to any useful information, but another more recent appearance in text only mentions she's dating Flavio Soares. In it, a Teen Blast reporter asks how they met. I was in Rio for a carnival, and he was on one of the parade floats. I had no idea who he was, but I liked what I saw and told my people to invite him into the party I was going to. I felt pretty stupid once I realized that we were going to this party. Well, his mother's party. She runs a media empire down there called Sao Paulo. That's a challenging one. Sao Paulo. A friend of mine's from Sao Paulo. Is a massive media group owned and run by a mysterious woman named Sonia Alves. Probably returned to her old name after the... Something's wrong. Because I have everything filled in. Let's read the article still. It seems Sonia Alves is a common name in Brazil, so she has shortened her name to Nia to stand out in the public eye, but that doesn't matter to us. But I could probably look for Nia Alves in a minute here. Add that for later, just to keep track of things like this. According to the history page that's focused on her company and vague, unsearchable details, Nia received a significant inheritance in 1980 and invested it, slow the fuck down, in many different manufacturing businesses in her hometown in Brazil. At the same time, she had just begun to learn the ins and outs of running a television network. She continued to work in television until in 1988 when Brazil began its period of reform. She felt this was the perfect opportunity to launch her own media company using her investment and connections. Now her company owns television networks, magazines, newspapers, and advertising firms. After doing some translating, the page about Nia lists her as unmarried. It does not go into any other relationship history. Searching for Nia online, you learn that she strays out of the spotlight. She doesn't even appear in shareholder meetings. She sends a proxy. Nia Alves brings us to the same page. Okay. That might be it then. Her name's Sonia Alves. I'm definitely right about these two, right? My youngest loves to run and my oldest is an actor, right? Pretty sure I did that part right. And this was the party at a very specific time. And she was a secretary. Did she do something different? I think they said that they moved. Didn't these two want to do cooking together, but they moved to the town where these two do cooking? Well, they would go on to do cooking. They didn't move to them. They were their kids. And then they're like, but that never panned out for our parents, and our mom went back to being a secretary. I think I specifically remember that entire storyline. I think she's still a secretary. News anchor? Are you not a news anchor? Oh, you're a principal. You're not a principal. You're not a professor. You became the principal. It's still not right, though. Available faces. This was a guess. Was it you? They sent Susie to proposition her. That's not Sisely, that's Susie. Still not right, though. Okay. I think that's right. I think that's right, though. I don't know the fuck that is. But that might be you, right? Because yes, that we can. I assume that was Sisely when we confirmed that Sisely was there. But then we confirmed that Sisely tells the story of Susie propositioning her in the bathroom, I think. I might be filling that one in on my own. They also look kind of similar. They look like family to me. What is your job? Shareholder meetings. That makes her a CEO. Based on my guess earlier about how that works. Fuck. I'm losing my mind here. I'm just like genuinely like, what am I missing? It's like Sonia L, CEO. I'm just wrong about what her current job is. 1988. No mention of marriage history. I think she renamed herself after her husband fucking her husband got run out of the country. just to be sure I could be like that, but no, I'm pretty sure it's her. I would have locked in. She's principal. She became principal. She went from secretary to professor to principal. We have no more updates from you at all, so you might as well just be secretary still, right? Yeah, because that's what you were turned back to. Is your job still fucking wrong? Let's just look at them. Advertising. Answer. I don't know why I said that one out loud like it was relevant. Oh, media mogul. Oh, I didn't even know that was... That term's never used so far. Maybe it's used somewhere. All right. Thomas Hughes. Booyah. Fucking booyah button.
Hi again. I know you probably thought you were done. But it turns out what you're doing here might have some pretty major repercussions on the family tree.
Again. Also, there's something really strange happening. I can't explain it.
Neither of us can.
I'd call it a simple misunderstanding, but it's digging at the pit of my stomach. I just have a feeling. Clark?
Last week, let's just say being the president, sometimes people bring me things.
Just skip to the important part.
Right. One of our janitors brought me some hair she'd found in Ruby Spratt's trash. It was Bonnie Hudson's. Bonnie is Guy's sister. She'd sent us her hair to test potential Roottrees, since her DNA is closest to Guy's. But Ruby threw it out, and I wasn't sure why she would have done that. Especially right before we began testing the tree you provided. When I asked, she told me she thought the samples needed to be fresh every time they did a test.
It seems really odd. Ruby was the one who convinced us to do DNA testing in the first place. She seemed so knowledgeable. I don't like it. You've done more of a deep dive on these people than anybody else has. Clark will keep a closer eye on the DNA tests from now on. You have an eye for anomalies. We need you to find the smoking guns.
If there's anyone you're 100% positive can't be a Roottree,
Or any you've got definitive evidence are Roottrees, then we might be able to catch Ruby in a lie.
What does this mean? Oh God, do I need to confirm? I have to confirm who is and isn't a Roottree out of all these options. Ooh. I don't know if I understand this one. I'm scared. Okay. Killing these people is optional. Inconsistencies? Now's the time to review all possible Rootrees and input your deductions. You'll then be able to end your search and reveal the truth. You have 13 possible Rootrees left to identify. What? Oh, it goes all the way from here. Oh. What? I'm scared. I think that I'm gonna have to look at this next episode. I mean, if it's not long enough, I'll just tack it to the end of this episode, but it looks like I need to reassess everyone, which seems like a lot to do in general. Shit. You have 13 possible Rootrees left to identify. I don't know what that means. You're definitely a Roottree. Let's see, let's count 1, 2, 3. I'm counting the little weird black boxes. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Or just 11. This is the person. That's the. Okay, so the 13 doesn't add up with that. So I have one more secret relationship to try to fill in, and then are they saying that even outside this tree there's 13 other potential Rootrees? And that's how open-ended this was or something? Wait, what? Wait. Did we ever find another picture of this guy? We did. There he is. That's the red... Did they add this red square in Rootreemania? I don't understand. When is it... Has it ever been called to question whether or not they were Rootrees? They're Gwen's kids, right? I don't... Alright, let's think about this next episode. I don't know what the fuck's happening. What? That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know why out of all of the Roottree family they're in question. I'm hungry. I'm gonna have dinner.